Hello, grade 12s. Welcome back. It's Economics with Ms. Piwe, and today we are focusing on tourism. It's quite an interesting section because we learn a lot about how the tourism industry actually works. So now we are going to continue and move on to measuring tourism. You know, with economics, we love to measure the extent of something or the impact that a particular sector has on the economy. So same applies when it comes to tourism. We want to have systems in place in order to measure the impact of tourism in our economy. So there are different systems or structures or activities that we use in order to perform this task. So we know that tourism consists of different activities that should comply with the following. So there should be a purpose for the visit. Could be camping, business, or studies. So this needs to be declared so that we can place it under the correct category. Also, there should be no remuneration that should be earned at the tourist destination. A minimum length of stay should be 1 night, and then a maximum length of stay should not exceed more than 1 year. So that's the important criteria that we looked at earlier on. And also the traveling distance should not exceed over 160 kilometers from a person's residence. Okay, so this is just to reinforce what we discussed before the ad break. So what are the reasons for growth? So this is the interesting bit because we said that tourism does contribute positively towards economic growth. And also we've said that South Africa is quite a popular tourist destination because of the great weather that we have and also the different tourist attractions that we have in our country. So the rapid growth in tourism or in the tourism industry has resulted in a steady change in the standard of living. Okay, so there has been a positive impact from an economic point of view, and we like that because we are all about ensuring that the standard of living improves in the lives of South Africans. Okay, so let's just go over this point. So we know that there has been rapid growth in the tourism industry, which has resulted in a steady change in the standard of living, as well as people's lifestyles have improved because of the industry itself. So tourism is much more evident in the developed than the developing countries. Although tourism is increasing faster in the developing countries, local tourism is booming since South Africa is becoming more attractive as a tourist destination. We know that the developed countries, when we look at the North and the South divide, the North divide benefits from tourism because if you ask people, what are your top 10 destinations? They'll go like, I'd like to go and see Paris. I want to go to New York. I want to go to Amsterdam. I want to do this and that. So they name the developed countries. But over the past couple of years, we see a trend that there is more or there's a more appeal, or the developing countries are becoming more appealing to tourists as a destination. We see countries like Kenya, they becoming quite attractive to tourists, and South Africa is doing nicely. Namibia is doing nicely as well. Botswana is doing really well because of their wildlife and just the nature of the country itself. So there is some development that is happening in terms of the tourism industry in developing countries. But also, I think the main pull factor is that, when tourists from developed countries come to South Africa, they come with a stronger currency. So things become cheaper for them, and hence they can enjoy the 5-star treatment and all the exclusive things that come with that because they have the financial resources to enable them to afford all those things. I've seen when we travel from South Africa to Southeast Asia, for example, things are affordable for us there. So that's our destination pull because of the currency, because they use the rupee there, and we know that the rand and the rupee, the rand is sometimes slightly higher than the rupee in terms of value. So we tend to indulge because we can actually afford the exclusive treatment when we arrive at those destinations. So all those things need to be considered when choosing a holiday destination. So you don't want to travel to Europe when the rand is not performing well, because the exchange rate is going to be bad for you, and you're not going to be enjoying those exclusive things. And then now we move on to the reasons for the growth of the tourism industry. So we can see that there has been an increase in the disposable income. So when households have more disposable income, then they are able to do things to award themselves or to reward themselves for working well, or for being good for the whole year, or for kids passing matric and so on. So they can actually say, we are going to go on holiday because our disposable income has been increased. We have more money, or we have additional money that we can spend on a trip. So if there's an increase in the disposable income, that would encourage people to go on holiday, because they have that additional amount of money that they can actually spend going on a vacation. Less working hours, so more time to travel. So if you have less working hours, I'm sure we would all love that, and have more time to travel. So that sounds like a good plan. But people that have less working hours are actually in a position to travel more, because they've got more time in their hands, and therefore then they decide to venture out and gain some experience as well. So the working hours will also play an important role when we are looking at the growth that's happening in the tourism industry. So with less hours, that means that people have more time to actually travel and see the world. An awareness of leisure and recreation. I think this is becoming such an important thing in today's time, because we have all these stressful jobs. School is stressful. Trying to pass matric can be a stressful experience. And now that there's an awareness that you actually need to take some time out, take 5, as you young people would say, that you need to just say, hang on, I need some time out. So I need to just go out and refresh and recharge. So leisure and recreation become very important. So there's more of an awareness, I think, based on the lifestyle that we are currently living in this cosmopolitan world that we find ourselves in. Also, improved transport, so it makes easy access. We don't have to be on a ship for 8 months to get to the UK. It can take us, 11 hours, something like that, to get to the UK. From South Africa, even less, I'm not quite sure, but it's just an estimate. But also, communications become easy with social media and so on, and also the accommodation facilities. You can stay on a self-catering accommodation. You can stay in a nice hotel, you can do a resort, you can do a B&B. So the accommodation facilities have improved over the past few years, but also the communication and the improved transport systems have played a very important role in the growth of this particular industry. Increased advertising and promotion. We see that that you can, you go to the traveling agencies, they now sell a package. A family could go on holiday. You could go to Mauritius as a family and just buy a package, and they make things easy for you. They can actually show the pictures of the resort that you'll be staying in. Already you have an itinerary that you can follow in terms of the different activities that you can possibly participate in. So the advertising and promotion has become more effective in terms of getting the message across and making the industry more attractive to the households. Also enjoying the benefits of a holiday and also of travel, because once you've gone on a holiday, when you come back, you feel like a completely new person because you've recharged. You were out of your usual environment. You got to relax and spend the day just sitting outside and enjoying the fresh air and so on. So our bodies need that recharge process so that we can come back and actually be more effective in what we do. Also, the easily obtainable foreign exchange. And so now it's easy to exchange currencies. You go to most banks in South Africa, they have the foreign exchange department or the forex department. So you can exchange currencies. So it's easy to obtain foreign currency. In shopping centers, you can go and exchange currency. So this has made it easy for tourists to actually exchange and obtain the currency, the foreign currency that they require. And then when we look at international, so tourism is much more evident in developed than developing world, but tourism is growing faster in developing countries at a rate of about 4.6. That's in 2010 to 2011. We've seen that there has been a nice significant growth in the tourism industry. Remember, in 2010, we hosted the World Cup, and so we saw an influx of foreign tourists coming into a country to enjoy the World Cup, and we hosted such a superb event, and we were recognized for that. So that also contributed positively to the tourism industry because there were thousands and thousands of foreigners that came into South Africa because of the World Cup, but also they got an opportunity to see how beautiful our country is, and hence they are coming back to explore and see what South Africa has to offer on a more relaxed approach. And then, so what are the effects of tourism? So tourism has a significant effect on the economy and also on the country as a whole. So the following 6 areas are greatly affected by tourism. Okay. So we're going to look at employment. We're just going to mention some of these areas because if we go through all 6 of them, we are not going to have enough time in this lesson. So we know that employment is a big thing. We know that in our country, we are struggling with high levels of unemployment. So when we hear the word employment, we get very excited because we are creating opportunities for people to be employed so that they can generate an income and be able to participate in economic activity. So we know that the tourism sector employs 7% of South Africa's workforce. That's approximately 1.12 million people get employed by the tourism sector. So that's a good number. You just imagine that if we didn't have this percentage, our unemployment level could go even higher. So we are trying to reduce the unemployment level to about 15% in 2020. So more jobs need to be created in order to lower the unemployment level. So it's quite exciting to see that the tourism industry actually employs 7% of the South Africa's workforce, which is approximately 1.12 million people. Tourism is the largest provider of jobs because it is labor intense. Okay, so in the tourism sector, it's more human driven. You can't have equipment showing people around the different destinations, making sure that the hotel rooms are all clean and there's staff to welcome your guests and all that. So this industry is very labor intense, and hence it is able to employ such a high number of people because you need humans in order to carry out the different tasks that are involved in the tourism sector. It employs many different kinds of skills. You get tourist guides, you get the hotel staff. So there's a range of skills that are needed in this particular industry. And most of them are not really your sophisticated skills. People just require a little bit of training around the area that they'll be working in, and then from there they are good to go to start working there. So it's nice to see that there are all different kinds of skills that are required, and that they're not just looking for a specific set of skills. It provides immediate employment. It provides also entrepreneurial opportunities. I just look around and see how many people now own their B&Bs. That's an entrepreneurial opportunity, because those people have identified a gap in the market and they've actually done something about that gap. So they've combined all the other factors of production in order to fill in that gap that they've identified in the market. So we see a lot of nice B&Bs, and sometimes a B&B feels like a home, because you get a nice breakfast, and it feels like you're still in a home setup. So you don't get that, or you don't get much of that homesickness thing, because you are in an environment that's similar to your home. So it's important that we acknowledge that this sector has created a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities as well, and that it provides immediate employment as well. Especially I've seen in the areas around Northwest and so on, because there are a lot of campsites in those areas, that it has actually created a lot of opportunities. Tourism is the largest earner of foreign exchange. Okay, surely we can understand that, because people come in with their currency from their own countries, and then we need to create a platform for the foreign exchange to happen. So tourism then becomes the largest earner of foreign exchange, because foreign tourists pay for services in foreign exchange, and then also foreign tourists usually spend more than the local tourists. Like I said earlier on, sometimes it's cheaper for them. They go all excited. I remember when I had friends from the UK, when they arrived here in South Africa with the pound, they were just shopping and shopping, because they say your stuff is so cheap here. And we as locals think, it's a bit expensive, but because their currency is stronger than the rand, so they find themselves in that shopping spree mode. Let's take a short break. I will see you right after this.